Hello, everyone. Welcome to the COG Let's Play. I'm Caleb Dwayne Eno, and this is my compatriot Scott Baker. Say hi, Scott.
Hey everybody, how's it
Uh,
going, everybody?
Always good to ask. Do we have a sound check? Sound good out there?
Yes, I've got one ear in YouTube. You're sounding good.
Oh, good. And we can hear you too, Scott.
Yep, at least I'm
Awesome.
assuming so.
Very good. All right. Well, so this is our monthly Let's Play, which we do once a month, usually on the third Sunday. But this month, sorry, where we bumped it back a bit of a week to just do vacations and things. But yeah, so every month we have a particular theme, and this theme is actually rhythm. So themes are we get ideas and suggestions for different themes from the community, and then we choose a theme and we get suggestions of games that fit the theme in our community, and then we pare those down to four decisions, which we then put to a vote, and we get to play. Now, normally one of those is just the one that we talk about for the entire time. Today, we're going to do two of the games. One, they were very close in the voting scheme, and two, one of them is they're kind of very self-contained, more simple, and so there's less to talk about for one, and for two, and this is our kind of safety content warning here, is that the first game we are going to be playing actually has a lot of very vibrant visuals. So if you have trouble with strobe lights or nausea or seizures, you might want to be wary about this one because it is really visually intense. It's cool. It does a lot of fun things. It's very visually interesting, and we'll get to talk about it. It's a good game for talking about juiciness, game juiciness.
There you
But
go. Yeah,
yeah, but it is really wild and it's very fast moving. Lots of blinking bright colored lights. It actually makes me a little nauseous, if I'm being honest. So probably good that we're not played it for too long. But yeah, excited to show you. That game is Sayonara Wild Hearts. And then we are going to spend time playing a second game, which is Crypt of the NecroDancer. And our double feature here, I will be playing Sayonara, and Scott will be playing Crypt of the NecroDancer. So we'll get to kind of trade off on who controls that, which will be interesting because I don't think we've ever done that before, switching off
no,
who's playing. So
you're right. This is
always,
going to be our first test of that, and
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
hoping it goes well.
We shall see. It might be a little bumpy road there on the transition between games, but this should be good. And now both of these games are rhythm. Rhythm and music plays an important role. They're not necessarily going to be like your Guitar Hero kind of rhythm game. Though that's entirely a valid game for rhythm. But music and the beat of everything still does play a pretty significant role in how the game feels and controls in both of these games. So it's it'll be fun to take a dive into how the two different games pull on rhythm and that sort of interaction with you as the player. So that'll be
Yeah.
interesting. Timing will be a little bit more important in both of them.
And on that
So.
note, so it's kind of interesting to define what exactly is a rhythm game.
Mm,
So there's two takes on it. I guess the official definition is anything that you have to put inputs into in a rhythmic fashion, right?
mm.
That's, I guess, the official technical definition of a rhythm game if you look it up. But then there's multiple takes on that, right? And I think the two that we have today, although I've never played Wild Hearts, so I don't know much about that one, but
Mm.
I know that in the at least the Crypt of the NecroDancer, you must go to the beat of the song that is currently playing
Yeah.
in game, right? So the song is definitely part of that. It's part of the game. Whereas other games, like as good as Guitar Hero is, or Rock Band for that matter, as good as those games are, it doesn't go to the beat. It's just a rhythmic pattern of buttons that you need to press. But
Mm.
the song is irrelevant in those. So it's kind of a good question of like what is rhythm game, and I think the two games that we have are true rhythm games. Where
Mm.
those other games are fun, right? There's nothing wrong with those, but these definitely, the music is definitely part of it, and you must go to the beat of it.
Mm.
So it's just something that's like kind of like added to it, something interesting to think about.
Yeah. I was definitely interested with the wide variety of games that were suggested. There was a lot of really interesting stuff, and obviously there's things like Beat Saber out there. That's
Yes.
the this was actually something that I found before, and in all of the categories that we've looked at, pretty much all of the games that we have played or that have been suggested are games that are more traditional, either controller or keyboard. But there were actually probably about half of the games that we were playing that were suggested had as either an option or the only option was a 3D experience, a VR headset experience, which I don't own,
Right.
so I can't actually play those. But things like Beat Saber, which is one that's out there that is 3D only. It's got that experience of like hitting things with a lightsaber and that kind of a thing, which
And it's really popular too.
it's very popular. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I've seen some videos of it, and it's pretty wild. Some of the I feel like it would be a very good workout. Just kind of like because you have to like dodge things and but yeah. So
The
that was actually
videos
really
I've
interesting.
seen, they feel like it could be a spectator sport. Like you could have judges that hold like cards up like 1 through 10
Yes.
because like, people really get into it.
Yes. Excellent. Yeah. So, but the ones that are here, I think both of them. Are you playing a controller with Crypt and the NecroDancer or a keyboard?
So no, I think I'm gonna do keyboard. It
Okay.
seemed to be more responsive.
Yeah.
Full
Yeah.
disclosure, I'm terrible at these kind of games. So this is gonna be fun.
Well, you don't have to be amazing at it to talk about the design, I suppose. But
That's right.
all right. Well, I think with that we can get started. What do you
Yeah,
think?
let's do
Ready to
it.
go? Okay. So my stream is running to you. You have access to that, and so if I
Yes.
pull this up, and here we go. That might be a little hot on the audio there. Let me see if I can bring that down a little bit.
There was a young woman who was very happy.
Oops.
One
There we
day
go.
her heart broke so violently
How's that looking?
that her sorrow
It looks
echoed
great.
through space and time.
Does it sound great?
Yeah, I think it does. The audio seems pretty good. When we
Okay.
get into some music, we'll see.
All right. Yeah, so it's got a nice intro cutscene. Everything's got. I just have to say, the first thing here is everything has a really nice visual consistency. They were very intentional about the color scheme they've chosen. Lots of cool blues and purples. Couple of accents. You'll see accents yellow there. That actually pretty consistent throughout. So you've got a lot of the cool spectrum. And then accents a little bit into like the pink and red here and there, but it's done very effectively. The other thing too is there's an interesting collection of games that have this kind of aesthetic. There's one of them, Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time, is another game that I've played that has a very similar kind of aesthetic. And it's sort of a fun niche thing in a number of different games I've seen that are pulling on the same kind of cool colors, a little bit of that retro, lots of
80s
hearts,
neon,
explosions.
what I
80s
see.
neon, yes, it's a really fun visual aesthetic that some games are pulling on. So. Let's go ahead and get into it. So, as we were talking, obviously, rhythm games. These are a lot of things going on here. Sorry, again, visually very dramatic. So we're gonna start at the very beginning. I've played through about half of the game so far. We'll play through a couple levels and we'll talk about what's going on. So, for the starters, let's just go ahead and play level 1, so you can kind of have seen it. And then we'll go back through and we'll talk about it a little bit more. So I'll go ahead and just get started here.
Long ago,
I don't know anything about this game.
Yes.
beyond ours,
It's interesting.
and 3 divine arcana watched over it.
Hmm.
But one night, a cursed arcana intersected the astral highways, and along with her star-crossed allies, they stole all harmony and hid it in their vile hearts. Before the divine trio started to fade, they created a heroine from the shards of a broken heart and hoped that she would one day be strong enough to save their world.
amazing and unexpected music choice here.
Yes. So this intro, it's really fun how they will flip between cinematic storytelling into the gameplay, and so all of this obviously is cinematic at the very beginning, and then it will just sort of go, and you're there, and then you have control of the character and you're playing it.
Oh wow!
And now you have control.
Oh wow!
So
okay.
it's pulling on a lot of the traditional runner style.
Yeah, I see that.
But
whoa!
Yeah, it's not always straight. In fact, it's frequently not straight. The camera changes a lot.
But your track is still straight, is that correct?
It's still straight. It's
right,
you
it's
only
just
have
like,
left and right.
right.
Occasionally there are times where it will flip and it will be an up-down movement, and other times it will be an up-down, left-to-right movement. But it's still always forward and straight. So you're only ever working with 1 degree of axis of movement or 2 degrees of axis of movement. So yeah, that was the one that originally kind of just got me, was when it changed into a disc and.
Oh my gosh! I mean, it is pretty amazing.
The camera is fast. I mean, it moves really fast, but super smooth. Everything flows really, really smoothly.
From a programmer's perspective, that had to have been a lot of work to make sure on any device it runs that smooth.
Yes, I completely agree with that.
That had to have been, kudos to them, it had to have been a lot of work.
I'm always interested.
You wouldn't be able to do it any other way.
Yeah, I'm always interested to see what people are using for their cameras, right? Because depending on whether you're using, what application you're using, Unity or Unreal or GameMaker or whatever, they have different cameras with different modes. I don't actually know what this game was made in. I feel like I should have looked that up.
Oh yeah.
But the camera in this game plays such a big role, and there's way more going on than probably just a basic camera. There had to be customization to really make this work and feel the way it does. So I'm always curious just to see what people have been using, if it's a totally home-rolled thing, or if there's some more interesting cameras out there that people have bought as like assets or that kind of a thing. So it's really interesting.
So can we do that one again? That was pretty short.
Yes, it's pretty short. We can try it again.
And you've played this game before, so I'm curious to know, like, how dynamic is it? Is it just a single track runner? Or sorry, I shouldn't use the word single. Is it just a track runner? Like, when you did a lot of those camera movements, what happens if you make a mistake? Can you fall off the track? I've got lots of questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's take a look and let's try to do a not happy path. Let's just do
there we go. Let's do that.
Let's see if I can.
And is
they're gonna lock me into watching. No skip option. No.
Sorry, I got you into this.
You did. Well, yeah. So I'll talk a little bit about what to expect. So there is a happy path, and the camera does actually respond to how well you succeed at the track. And so certain pathways will if you nail something, it'll give you a little bit of an extra thing. Like, I think there's that loop pretty close to the beginning of this level. If you go in the middle, you follow that loop around, and then you'll keep going. But if you miss it, you'll miss that extra loop, and you'll miss those extra points. So there are a couple things. And you'll see in this first level, there's lots of ramps that go up as you jump. You can miss those ramps and not get the extra points, too. Which, in some ways, it actually makes it, not every path is the optimum. Like, there's you could go over here, or you could go over here and still get good results. There are, like, yes, you missed all of these points and you failed, and there's obviously some scale of success, but
that's cool right there, by the way.
It is fun. Yeah, so you see there's this main track right here, and if you follow this main track, eventually you'll get that extra pathway there. Oh, it still did follow it. Okay, so actually I was wrong about that.
Interesting.
I assumed it wouldn't pull you into it, but it does actually.
Maybe at least for this one it does, because this seems like an intro kind of level.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. you'll see these ramps. So you can miss these ramps.
There we go. Yeah.
And so you won't get all of the extra points if you go up them.
Gotcha.
And it's a lot more chill, actually, if you don't go up the ramps.
So you have full movement across the entire track, don't you?
Left and right. Left and right, you
right.
do, yes.
It doesn't just like jump to different tracks, right? You can go in the middle of one track or
correct. Yep. It's a
Okay.
fluid. It's
yeah,
a fluid
you've got
movement.
full movement.
Yep. It's
okay,
a fluid
that's
movement.
interesting. I'm interested in that choice because.
Okay,
a lot
well,
of
hold on.
rhythm
Don't get ahead of yourself here. So
okay.
that is the first mechanic. It gives it to you slow. It gives you just the left and right movement. But there is more to this game. More is going to happen. So let's go ahead with next. You are jumping ahead. Let's go ahead and try the next level. So it does progressively add a couple of new mechanics as you get into the first 2, 3, 4 levels.
Nice.
All right.
Oh,
now I'm riding around on a card.
Nice.
So this one again is the same thing. I get that lateral movement, but it's a lot faster. It's a lot slippier. Now these are these teleport tunnels. So if you go in one side, it'll teleport you to the opposite side.
Oh, wow.
So it's just a sort of subtle. Oh, I keep missing it. It's hard.
It's going really fast.
Yes, this is what the thing I was saying. Is it gets a little bit. Oof. See, there I hit one and it jumped me to the other side.
So
Yeah.
it must be if you get the right side, it must, or the correct side. Not
The correct side, yes.
But the correct side, there must be like an extra grab points on the other side.
Yeah. Yep.
To reward you for that.
Yes.
Silver rank.
And it's got your traditional
not
gold,
bad.
silver, bronze ranking
Yeah.
that you might get in a lot of like runners or that kind of a thing.
Gotcha. So the previous one, I think you got gold, right?
I did
Yeah.
get gold on that one. Not last time I tried it, but okay. So let's go on to another one. I think this is where we start getting into a little bit more of the mechanics. So they kind of give you the second level gives you more of a sense of, okay, we've got the lateral movement really quick back and forth, but then we've got the second level makes it much more dramatic, much slippier. And then we get into this one, and there starts being this whole extra element, which is this motorcycle. So it's still the same back and forth movement, but it becomes a little bit more of an over-the-shoulder third person.
Look at the camera movement on that.
Yeah, this is why this is where it actually started really getting hard for me, like a little nauseous. Oh, this is important. So
look at that.
this is the punish. So this, if you get something
That's
wrong,
a fail. Right.
it doesn't take you back that far. This is actually something that's really important. Oh,
Oh, but it has a limited number of tries.
I've never hit this before.
Ah.
Would you like to skip this bit? This is really interesting.
Oh, so it detected that you're having a problem.
Yeah. Okay. This is I didn't know that this was in this game. This is awesome. So this is really excellent design for you thinking about designers out there. When you're building your game, you want to know who your target audience is. So if you're building a Dark Souls, then you basically want to just like hammer your player and force them to have to get it perfectly. But a lot of games are not like that. And a lot of games need to appeal to a bit of a wider audience. Ones who want a little bit more challenge, ones who are going to deal with too much challenge, need to give them help. This is the game helping you out. It's saying, hey, I see that you messed up. You couldn't get past this bit 4 times in a row or so. So do you want the option to skip past this bit so that you can continue experiencing the rest of the game, even if there was a challenging bit that just you couldn't get through? I think that's awesome. That's really cool.
For this type of game, I agree with you. I do think it is really good to offer the player, because this game goes very fast, and there's only a certain group of gamers who can do that, right? Typically, younger gamers can handle these pretty well, but getting like my age or older, not so much. So
Just get those
but
slow
this is-
response times.
right, and it's also not anything that you, for certain gamers, it's not something that you could get better at with just some practice. And this game is so fast, frustration can probably build up really quickly. But I agree with what you're saying, but it depends on the type of game and the
Absolutely
game style,
depends on the type of game.
Yeah. So if it's just a simple platformer, and you can skip certain chunks of the game, you could probably just keep doing that until you get to the end, and then there's really no satisfaction in playing the game at all. Insert older Mario games or mid Mario games, right? Where they did a little too much hand holding. No, this is very cool.
Yeah, I like this, but especially for this kind of a game that's supposed to be a bit more casual, and it already has the built-in mechanic of like being able to accumulate points and reach higher scores. There's already that little bit of like, not quite leaderboard, but a little bit of that competition competitive bit. But anyway, let's get back into this. This was a cool find.
I'm interested to know. You can do whatever you want, but I'm interested to know what the penalty is for skipping. You're not able to collect those hearts in that particular section. And
I would assume that probably is a piece of it.
Yeah, and I'm interested to know how far ahead it does skip you. Like just past that trolley. Like was it just the trolley that was getting you? Or is it the whole level?
Well, I know because I've failed at bits and pieces in other levels that they're essentially checkpoint pieces. They're checkpoint locations. And so I bet what it does is it just pushes you forward to the next Whoops, I wasn't paying attention. It just pushes you forward to the next checkpoint, is what I'm guessing it probably does.
Probably, yeah. Wow, visually this is a striking game.
It is very striking. Absolutely goes all in on that like you say, I think 60s visual aesthetic. Was it 60s or 80s?
80s neon.
80s neon, that's what it is. Visual aesthetic, the 80s neon. Yes, absolutely leans all the way into it. Okay, so this is a sort of a bit of progression. So you get the motorcycle. Motorcycle becomes very important all the way through the rest. And then that was, again, just your lateral movement with jumps and that kind of a thing. And then we're going to go into the next level, which introduces your first boss level. So this is actually a boss fight, and it introduces a completely different mechanic to the game, but I think it works really well. So let's take a look at that. All right, you see what's going on here? This is
are you trying to hit a? Oh yeah, when that shape or that geometrical shape gets into the heart.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So
that is cool.
This is the pulling from other classic rhythm games. Making sure your timing is correct. So you'll see actually there's a good, perfect ranking depending on when you hit it. There's okay, good, and perfect. I think are the three.
Yep.
But then what it
jumps into. Oh my god.
But it mixes them. This is the thing. So it introduces the idea to you in isolation, and then it starts combining the two together. So now you're doing both. But it does that really well, is it introduces it at the first part of the level. The only thing you're concerned about is just that one button push. And then it throws you back into lateral movement and button pressing.
Wow, there's a lot going on there.
There's a lot going on there.
But that was I could see it's not overwhelming because it's especially if you are familiar with these style games. It did feel like it would be pretty easy to pick up. The visuals really drew you into what you needed to do. Is that any button press, or is there specific? Or they're different. I've
only tried A just because A is kind of like the south button on the controller. Right. But I don't. My suspicion is that it's probably just that one.
Right. Right. It might be a little too much to mix more, but maybe in future levels it does. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself again.
I'm not aware of that. So far, it's only been left, right, up, down, and the A button. tidbit from Wesley Adams. So the narration is actually done by the actress Queen Latifah, which I didn't
No
know.
way.
That's super cool.
Thanks, Wes. Wow.
Oh,
I
wait.
did not know
Did
that.
I just do the same level again?
I think you did.
No, I didn't.
Oh, no, this is a different one. Okay.
Yeah, this is different. I love
So,
now that I've actually kind of played this a little bit, I'm trying to check out the backgrounds, and there's a lot going on in those backgrounds.
yes, there is. Yeah.
It's pulling on an interesting sort of like almost Aladdin-inspired perspective, like architecture. Yeah, so this is introducing that the bosses can actually like fire fireballs at you. So if you don't move,
there we go.
It hits you, and
Mixing
then
the
you
two
get
again.
reset.
Wow.
This bit I had trouble with the camera the first time I did it because it keeps looking backwards and then looking forwards, and that was hard. It was I kind of had to like just sit back from the screen for a little bit after I started getting to some of these. Cause see, this is a little it's a little intense. This is actually a pretty long level because you have to fight each of the 3 bosses. Oh yeah, this is where that introduces that up-down movement. This is the first point in the game where you get that. So, I think it's a miss though because it doesn't really tell you. And so the first time I came into this section, I was only moving left and right, and then I ended up missing a heart which was below me.
Yeah, I can see that. Also, those type of mechanics or that type of gameplay, I find it difficult to really get a sense of the depth.
Yes.
When you're going to connect with the heart
Yes.
and the character together, it's difficult to do right.
And I do think that this does not completely nail it on the head on that respect.
Right. Usually you can do it right if you have a shadow on both of them with a relative material that you're shining that shadow on.
Yeah,
and then
it's
you
still
can
tricky
connect the
then,
two
though,
together.
even with the shadows. It's
true,
a hard
yeah.
thing.
In this game there is no shadows. You can't really do that. Not this quickly, at least. Oh, hey, I'm wrong. There's some shadow right there.
I was going to say, I was like, okay, I'm not going to look for shadows now.
And there it is.
So for the collector in you all, there is these extra hard-to-get little, like, coin
look at
things. So they're hidden throughout... Oh, jeez. They're hidden throughout the level.
Wow. Hey, you want to skip this bit?
Oh, okay.
That is hard.
Okay, never mind.
Oh, you missed.
I don't want it that badly.
But that's good to know that there are collectibles, which I'm guessing at the end of each level it shows you how many collectibles you missed.
It doesn't. No, I think those are just extra points. Really? They're just extra points, so they're not actually like collectibles in terms of collectibles, but if you manage to get these, it'll bump your score up.
Gotcha.
So you want to get that coveted gold, you know.
So I was going to say, can you get... So there's a maximum number of points per level. Can you get over 100%?
In theory, yes.
If you get all of those extra, or those extras lead up to 100%.
Oh yeah,
lead up to 100%.
Just to quickly interject, this becomes up down only. So
you're in a
it is shmup.
Now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that looks difficult.
It is actually pretty difficult to get a good sense. This is actually something I've been learning about as I've been trying to understand cameras more in games. Is field of view, FOV, it's really tough to be able to work with FOV to give your players the correct perspective to understand where they are spatially. Because the inherently challenging thing about a video game is that you're trying to represent, or at least a 3D video game, is you're trying to represent 3 dimensions on a 2D field, the screen, right? And even working with VR doesn't change that. You're still trying to represent a 3-dimensional reality, virtual reality, in a 2D actual reality, the screen. So that actually makes it really tough to be able to communicate effectively to your players, especially in certain scenarios, kind of like this. There are unique challenges with this, and I think the FOV here is pretty high, which tends to make it very flat feeling, which is probably a good decision for the game, because the flatter your FOV is, then everything feels closer. Even further away objects feel closer to you.
I can kind of get that sense, yeah.
But as soon as you increase the FOV, you lose depth perception. Especially if you're changing FOV, it can make it really challenging. And that's kind of one of those things when you get the speed ups and slow downs throughout the level, you'll see a slight FOV change in the camera. It'll flatten things out when you're going faster, and then shorten the FOV when you get going slower. And that's fun for like the visual effect of like feeling like you're moving really quickly, because you almost do kind of, when you're moving really fast, you lose a bit of depth perception. But if you haven't tuned that perfectly, then you can risk losing the player's depth perception, which makes things like targeting an object in that 2 axes of movement kind of challenging, because you don't know how far away it is, and you don't get that parallax effect quite as well.
Right.
So it's technically challenging to do. And I'm just learning a lot about this stuff because the game I'm working on, we started messing with cameras a lot more and doing camera funky stuff.
Yeah.
Well, and what's really interesting, I'm going to do a sidebar about cameras here because this has been really interesting. So you can do a zoom 2 ways. You can do an FOV zoom, so you zoom in and the camera position doesn't change, but the field of view changes, which basically brings everything in the background closer just because it starts flattening out the perspective. But you can have also, and this is probably more what you're used to, is as a physical zoom where the camera actually comes closer or backs out further. And so we had to play around with, okay, let's get a good FOV here, but then also let's get that zoom in and out working really well. And it's really hard. It's hard to tune that really well.
Yep. And you get really cool effect if you do the opposite, both of them at the same time in the opposite directions.
Yes,
right?
I believe that's called a dolly zoom, right? Where you
Is that
are.
I didn't know there was a word for it.
It's you see it in like horror movies a lot, where you're looking down the hallway, where the camera zoom, like the camera actually moves physically, but then the FOV also changes. So you get that weird, like your camera is going forward physically, but the FOV is backing up. So the stuff on the foreground is moving forward, and the stuff in the background is pulling in towards you, which, if you've seen any horror movie with the hallway, that dolly zoom, you're like,
every one
it's
of them.
Unsettling. Every single one of them, absolutely. But it's unsettling because we're not used to having that FOV change just from our perspective. So it's absolutely unsettling. Totally overused, but can be used to good effect. Fun fact, I also noticed something. You were talking about the collectibles. I was wrong, Scott. Can you tell where the collectibles are?
Above your score.
Above your score, yes.
You've got 2 of 3 in this one.
That's because there was that one that I couldn't get. But I actually had not noticed that at all. I completely had missed that. Which I think, thinking about a lot of this game as a whole and things that are going on with it, I think the challenge here has been that there hasn't been as well a communication as there could be about certain things. So like if you came back to here and maybe there was something to say, oh, hey, by the way, you got these collectibles, and kind of drew your attention to that more, that would have been good. I think at some points there might be beneficial to show you which axes of control that you have. Like an icon or something that just flashes, something to give you a little bit of context, because the control scheme switches so much throughout the level. But maybe that's part of the challenge, is that you play it through once to get a gist of it, and then you can play it through again to continue, like, no, now I know what I can do in these different sections.
It does feel like it needs a little bit more of that type of teaching the player how to play. The first 2-3 levels, I think, were really good examples, where the second level, I think, was completely one perspective, and the first level was completely another perspective, and then they started putting them together.
Yeah.
it feels like it could use a little more of that, but overall it does feel like it's pretty good. It's not really a criticism.
I think the word for that is telegraphing, so you telegraph to the player what they can do.
Yep, you're right.
Let's try this one. We'll just do another level or two. And we'll do this one because I think there's a lot of... They changed the visual on here. You suddenly go out of the city because you finished the first set of bosses. Now we're going to go into a new kind of world here.
That's cool.
So we'll play this one, and then we'll play one more level, and then we'll switch to the other game. But so now we introduce trees that you can in fact run into. If I can run into one, come on!
Oh my gosh!
There we go.
Oh, look at that!
Yeah, you can smack right into the trees.
And you're chasing your Patronus.
There you go.
Oh, there. That is cool. Oh, look at that! That is cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. This is really interesting because what it does is that it uses the buttons, and it's really sinking into the music well. Oh, and also note, this is basically you can't progress until it hits the button. It stops because I'm not entirely sure why there isn't a fail state here. It's if you hit the button correctly, then you get points. If you don't hit the button at a certain point, it will stop you, and then when you hit it, it will progress on.
Weird.
Yeah, it's interesting kind of the decision there, which is a little bit different than the fail states before.
Very immersion breaking. Huh. There's got to be a reason for it, though.
Yeah, it throws. Go
ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I would say I think they throw a lot of things at you in this level that are kind of new. So this is hitting that button so that you can jump to collect the items at the top, which is a little challenge. Like it's not challenging so much as it just it requires you to push the button and do something else, which is good because that's something that becomes important, especially in the next level we're going to do. But it's starting to combine things where you push the button and it's not just a response that's not in real time. It's not a cinematic response. It's actually a response that you can control, which is you push the button and your character jumps, and you still have the lateral movement to hit or miss the heart that's at the top. So they kind of start combining a couple of those things, which is fine. Like it's good that they're leveling that up. I still think that they're missing a little bit of the telegraph on it, but it is taking what is essentially a very simple control scheme and giving you a lot more interesting things to do with it, which is a great way to do a progression game like this.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Wow, very cool.
Okay, so we're gonna jump forward to this one. So this is the final boss from that whole series, and they've actually taught you a couple of things along the way, including there's a new ability where you can shoot. So it's kind of like firing projectiles, and there's response to different things there. So this kind of combines a lot of the things that they have taught you up to this point. So I'm gonna jump ahead. Yeah, there's this first-person perspective, which I find very challenging because it's really moving fast. Though I think the FOV on this is actually not bad right here. Like this
I was gonna say that it works though.
Yeah, it does work, but it's really fast.
I really like the variety in between each level though.
Absolutely.
That is nice. Yeah.
There's a lot of variety.
Oh, how'd you do that? I didn't even see that. Oh, so now these are friends, not foes that you're riding.
These are foes. Yeah, these
are foes. Okay.
These are foes. Yes, you'll see in a second here.
Okay.
Come on.
Oh.
Oh, jeez.
Oh.
It's so fast, Scott. It's so fast.
Oh, there we go. Okay. So are you shooting those things?
So it's auto shooting. I'm not actually having to do it manually.
Okay.
But when
That's
you need
good.
to shoot, it shoots. Now that was a great
That is
telegraph.
cool.
That was a great telegraph where it really prepares you for what's about to happen.
Or now you have to hit the jumps in order to
Yeah.
hit the heads. That's cool. Wow, that is neat. Oh my gosh.
Oh jeez. So in this game, the rhythm of it isn't super critical to the actual playing out of the mechanics, but they have done a really good job of syncing up the rhythm with the movement, like with hitting specific pieces. They've synced it up pretty well. Doing much better at this than the last time I did this level.
I'm so glad you played this ahead of time.
I'm so glad I did too. Oh my gosh, that would have been an absolute mistake. I would have been like throwing up on camera or something. It's like I'm prepared now. I'm ready for it, so it's just not quite as bad. It's not as jarring. But even then, this is definitely I'm done after this. There's a lot going on here. Oh shoot.
Yeah, there is. I really like the transitions into, like the second time that you saw the wolf head, or sorry, the three-headed wolf mechanical thing, whatever that is. I don't know. Seemed to be at the bridge of the song.
Yeah,
Which
yeah, that's what
it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So there's really good transitions with the music as well, and also kudos to the developers.
Oh, I got all
I
four. Sorry.
Ooh, nice.
Kudos to the developer. Sorry.
Kudos to the developers for. I noticed when you hit a tree or something like that, it jumps back into the song to that previous checkpoint
Mhm.
seamlessly. It
Yeah,
was really
yeah,
good. So
yeah,
because
you're
the
right.
music is a very important part here,
Mhm.
right? So it skips back to where it needs to, and it doesn't do it in a very jarring way.
Mm.
I'm interested to know. So it feels like these songs are at like a 4-time scale, right? And I'm interested to know if when you hit the tree, does it pause to wait for the next beat to happen naturally?
Oh,
to
that's
your mind,
interesting.
right?
That's
Because if you
interesting.
don't, then it goes to 3/4 instead of 4/4 for like a split second, right? And then it'll go back.
Yeah.
That would
that-
be really, really hard.
That would be really interesting to kind of like see what they did behind that. So there's a guy in our community of COGG, Brian Skeel.
Yep.
I'm sure you've talked to him. Yeah, you knew where I was going
He
with
would
this.
love that.
So
He would love to know that.
I've had so many good conversations with Brian about doing what FMod is that what the program is,
Correct.
and
Yep.
and this whole idea of the relationship between the audio and the game and the state machines of the game and the being able to create code that keys off of the music and doing something that's like that where it basically like creates breakpoints in the music. So here's a thing happens in the game and then here's a breakpoint in the music. We're going to wait until we hit that breakpoint and then bring it back to continue moving forward in the game. And you can actually create hooks back and forth between the music and the game engine. I think like if you do things like that really well, and I think this game is doing, actually to your point, doing very well at that, which is something that if it's almost thankless because if you're doing it really well, you don't notice it. It just seamlessly blends in. But if you're doing it poorly, the players will notice because everything feels off for some reason. Hollow Knight is a great example of doing this very well too. That's
right. Yeah, I've been listening. I can't hear it too well because it's a little quiet in my ear. But I've been listening to see if I could hear that jump in the music, or that I don't want to say incorrect, but the missing that minor detail whenever you hit a tree or something like that.
Yeah,
and I haven't noticed it.
That's interesting.
And that is like you said, that's a very good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they did really well.
Very cool.
That is cool. Yeah.
Well, that was Sayonara Wild Hearts, and hope you all enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun, kind of like talking about all the visuals of there, let's go ahead, Scott, and let's try our dramatic swap, if you will. Let's go ahead and I'm going to hit quit on that, which makes it all go away. And so now, go ahead and start streaming on your end, Scott, and we'll get this pulled up here.
Okay, will do.
Any thoughts or questions from the chat at all? Please leave them there for us.
All right, you should see my pause screen. Now, I do have pause because this game has crashed a couple times on me so far. And I would love to get back to a title screen, but I'm just going to start here.
That's fine. I've got it here. I'm going to bump this to there. Okay, we're going to try that for the moment.
Let's go ahead and you test the audio, see what this is like.
Yeah, here, let me...
On YouTube, this is working pretty well, I gotta say.
You think it's working all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a little jumpy. Like, it's not that smooth, but this game, I don't think... It's not as important visually as last game we were just playing.
Sure,
I think it's okay.
Okay.
Now, I am in a lobby, so the music is a little quieter. Just FYI.
Yeah. So what I would like you to try is pull up the tutorial level, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. Tutorial level. Where are you?
Yeah, down a couple.
There we go.
There it is.
Okay, here we go. Again, disclaimer: I stink at these games.
All right, so let's just take that first opening moment here. There's a little bit of an introductory video that gives you the sense that there's something going on here because she falls down a cavern. She, I guess, dies, but then something brings her back. I mean, this is called Crypt of the NecroDancer, so there's probably something going on here with the raising of the dead stuff. But she says her blood is cold, but her heart is beating in this weird rhythmic fashion. So let's just take a second to take in everything that's going on the screen here. So we've got beating hearts up top. Nice little detail, by the way, is that they are beating in order, one after the other, which I think is just a fun... This game knows what it is doing here in terms of, like, it's got a rhythm. I'm not saying it does everything well, but it knows it has a rhythm, and it plays into that. So you've got something that looks like gold, something that looks like gems, you've got something that looks like a map, and you've got the beating heart with the lines down there. And if you've played any rhythm game up to this point, you've probably seen something that looks a little bit like bar coming down a track and hitting something at the middle. It's about that timing.
This game, sorry to interrupt, this game definitely goes to the truest part of a rhythm game where you must make moves based on the beat of the song. And it matches the little bit I've played. I've only played this game for like 5 minutes. The little bit that I have played, it does it really well. It does it really, really well, which this game has been kind of famous for. So I'm going to go ahead and try and move based on what I see below. And also, yes, and she does look exactly like Link in the chat. You're right. And I've also played the sister of this game, Kings of Hyrule, which it works so well. It's a really good game.
I really want to play it. It just looks like it'd be so much fun.
So I'm going to go ahead and move around a little bit just to kind of get used to it. And I'm going to purposely mess up. And it says I missed. I don't know if you see that on the bottom. It says I missed.
Yep.
That's just because I'm jamming the keyboard. But also, if I do get it a little early, you can see the bars fade ahead of the heart a little bit. Just kind of giving you a visual of how much you've messed up. But all right, so I'm going to go through the door.
Yeah.
If I'm
do
gonna
it.
survive this, I'll have to remember what
So
Uncle Eli
I guess we should mention that this game combines two genres of roguelike and rhythm game.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure most people know, but
every opponent has a predictable.
I really like the subtle color swap on the floor. It gives you the sense of the grid.
Ooh, I get a dagger. Cool. missed that one a little bit, but
Now, this was, I'll admit, this was the thing that I actually was struggling with as I was playing the game myself, is the up plus down combo.
yes,
don't-
I'm not liking that too.
I don't understand. So, I think I may have finally figured it out,
Green guy didn't move at all.
but
Blue guy moves up and then down, so it's
I think there's a way to set up an alternate up, down, left, and right so that you can do it with two hands. But if it was really confused, I was on a controller when I first tried this, and the only thing that works, your up, down, left, and right by default are the buttons, so the north, south, east, west buttons,
And it doesn't work.
which really threw me off. Like, it was very
Yes.
confusing. And then I tried going to the menu to change it, and that was really confusing too. So yeah, controls in this one, I think it's definitely like geared towards the keyboard. And if you could do something where you had arrow keys as your primary with your WASD as an alternative for all of those, so you could do the combos better, that would make sense, I think. But you still have to go into the menu to actually set that up.
That's right, yeah. Oh, and I missed it. Okay, so I was doing really good.
You were doing well. I was very proud of you. Very proud of you.
The color of the floor, the grid pattern that you mentioned before, which I also do like, we saw that it turned into a that pink and blue, or was it pink and green?
Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah.
colors, and that's because I had a coin multiplayer available to me. When I am hitting the beats right and I hit a baddie and defeat an enemy,
When you feel
I
the
get
groove.
that's right, and I get this multiplayer effect to how many coins I get, I think is what it is.
Yeah, I believe so. Yep. Coin multiplier.
And as soon as I miss a beat, it goes away. All right, let's keep on going. Ooh,
Oh, that's weird. My
wide
water bottle
pack.
is green, so
Not
it's
as
like
sharp as I need
see-through.
it, but I bet it can still take out 3 enemies.
fine.
That's right, yeah.
Sorry.
So
Just
one
distracted.
thing about this game that I've noticed is once you go up to something, and there's stores in this game, much like a roguelike, where you can spend your coins or your diamonds, which we'll get to in a bit. You have to stand in front of that or next to that item in order to be able to read what it is. But
That
if you've
is
got,
interesting.
if you've got this beat thing going and you've got your buff right from
By the
doing
time
beat,
you see
you
it.
you can't sit there and read it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
that was really bugging me, but
Huh.
I'm thinking that it's still enjoyable. I'm thinking that once you understand the shapes of a weapon, like this is a wide attack, it gets very familiar. You know what it is, so you can go ahead and grab it.
Right.
Also, once you pick something up, you drop. You can only hold one attack at a time. So once you
I knew that you
drop,
could only hold one. I didn't realize it dropped the previous one. I missed that. Probably because I was going too fast through it.
exactly, yeah. So if you're like, oh no, I didn't want that, I can pick it up and
That is
can
nice,
go back
though.
and
I
pick that
like
one.
that. I like that
Yeah.
lets you undo it
It's-
if you didn't like what you picked up.
it's a little forgiving.
Yeah.
All right, so I got a wide attack. Before I had just a single attack where and again, the entire way you interact with this game is just your arrow keys. So if you want to attack somebody, you just move in that direction. Very roguelike, old school roguelike.
Yeah.
So
Where everything was based off of your movements. So instead of having an
Right.
auto-advancing beat, it was you moved and everything moved at the same time.
That's right.
Yeah.
So in this case, or the previous case, I had just one direction attack. Now I can get all three.
Don't lose your multiplier.
Now I'm going to get my shovel, which allows me to dig, and I
You
lost
lost
my
your
multiplier.
multiplier.
I did.
Hands in the air when they're about to jump.
And I love these guys.
It don't hurt.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because we're going to have that telegraphing conversation. And I think the reason that the telegraphing conversation is so pertinent to games like this that are dealing with rhythms is that telegraphing is basically the entire game, right? So everything is
Right.
built off of there's some sort of signal, and the player has to respond to that signal in a specific kind of way. And so in order to have the player be able to succeed at the game, you have to telegraph to them what is going to happen, and then they have to read into that the result. And telegraphing is huge in lots of different kinds of games, but I think it's definitely a pertinent conversation when dealing with these. And so you have to read all of the different enemies in the game will telegraph their movements and their patterns differently, and so you have to learn what they are and how to respond to them.
Yep. Kind of like this, where I'm trying to move into this wall that I previously was able to dig through. I can't. It's giving me a ding. Huh, interesting. Okay.
It's because this is something I noticed before. The brick versus the dirt. So you can dig through dirt, but you can't dig through brick.
Okay. I've got the end of the tutorial. I'm just going to go for it. Good luck.
Go for it. Do it.
All right, so now we're into the full game. I'm guessing this is the first dungeon.
And it is, I believe it's procedurally generated, so it's a roguelike.
Yes.
So it is a dungeon crawler.
Oh. Not doing good so far.
I'm enjoying this so much. Oh, that was great. That was stellar. Very nice.
Ooh. How do I use the torch?
Is it passive? Does it just increase your view, like your vision?
Maybe. Oh, bomb!
Yeah, I
totally
died by
did that
a
on
bomb.
purpose.
I died by a bomb.
Oh, did you?
When I was playing it last, I died by a bomb. I was like, "What is this? Oh, should I pick it up?" No.
So I did not realize that those crates could contain something, and bombs open them up. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
Okay.
Which I get a heart. That's a good reward.
That's that's not just an extra heart. That's a heart container.
It is, yeah.
Okay, interesting.
But it's empty. That's interesting. It's empty. I have to figure out how to fill it up. Ooh,
now,
got a store.
What I like here, what I'm seeing here, which I really like, is that there seems to be a lot of levers you could pull to give variety to this game. Now, I know that there are other characters you can play besides the main character, and I think there's additional DLC that even unlocks more characters and more modes. Oh, he's singing.
I know, I love that.
That's great. Yeah, the what was I saying? Yeah, I think there's a lot of levers too. Amounts of parts you have, that's going to be a good lever you could pull. I'm assuming there might be different beats and rates. Like maybe you get higher coin multipliers with one person, or maybe the more accurate you are, the higher you get an extra higher multiplier, or coin collection might be more. Attack strength could be another one. I feel like with a game like this, you really want to honor the ability to replay in a lot of variety.
Yes.
So I can already see that there's a lot of levers that the developers could pull.
Again, very roguelike, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Very roguelike.
So roguelike, again, going with the roguelike, I've got some things that can increase my abilities as I go further down the dungeon. I can get a long attack, and it's throwable. Oh, this is the up and down thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Able to throw something, yep. I've come across these cages where I need a key to open them up. I'm going to buy one of those. Let's see, what's interesting is I want to read these, and if I had my multiplayer effect going on, I wouldn't be able to do it. But
the other thing too is
it's kind
of
cool because go ahead.
Well, the text is larger than a single.
That's right.
That's a thing.
That's a thing.
That's interesting. Okay, well.
Oh, that was bad. Yes, so I forgot about that. If I linger for too long. Ooh, I already have a key. If I linger for too long, the song ends and
maybe there's a
go
button
down
to push to end the.
What's the monkey do? Oh my goodness, I'm almost dead.
Yeah, that was from the last room.
I like pushing these barrels. There's the cage.
Well, I love that you like completely just bypassed the
door.
The door there. That was pretty great.
Okay. Let's go back to the lobby. I've got nothing. No coins, no diamonds.
Well, does that persist into the lobby?
So the diamonds persist, the coins do not. The coins you spend in the dungeon, the diamonds you can spend out in the lobby. So let's look at the lobby just to kind of see what's going on. I have to unlock a lot of these other rooms, but these are stores to help me along the way. So this guy I can go into, and I don't know why I would need to restore health in the lobby. If I'm in here, I should have full health.
Are those items that you can pick up and then they go with you the next run?
So far, it seems like the answer is yes. So I've purchased a heart, and it persists. It keeps on going.
For always and forever, or?
Yep. Yeah, because I started with 3.
You started with 3, okay.
Yep. Don't know. Well, let's keep going. So yeah, well, actually, let me see. We can...
that's a multiplayer. Does that permanently increase your multiplayer?
Yes. By 0.05. I don't know if that's 0.5% or...
I'm going to guess by 0.5 multiplier.
Yep, but I need 5 diamonds to get it. I can't get it. Actually, I can't get anything. Purple chest per run. So there's different color chests. I have no idea which each of those colors mean. And then let's go ahead and look at these. The cheese again restores health. I have no idea how that would help me. Wider attack. So does that is a item I can purchase to replace my dagger for this run.
That's my assumption. Having not played it further, I don't know.
Yep. All right, let's keep going.
I always like having a sense of progression in roguelikes because it gives me...
Yes. 2 empty heart containers. Oh my gosh.
That's 100.
Yeah, I've got nothing. Yeah, I do like it when roguelikes carry over because it helps you feel like you're making progress.
One of my favorite roguelikes in terms of giving you a sense of feeling like you're able to progress is actually was it Rogue Legacy, I think? That one was really interesting because essentially what you have is you have this like household, and as you go into the castle and you collect wealth and stuff, you can go back and you can build your household, which then basically every iteration is one of your descendants, and so each time it's you have another descendant who's going, and so you're constructing this household, and as you construct it, you have more and more strength or abilities as you go in. And I liked that progression system a lot, but you could do a lot of interesting things with progression, like let's see. Well, kind of what this one is doing. The progression here seems to be more about giving yourself permanent stat increases or starting a run with better equipment so you can get farther, that kind of a thing. I think another roguelike that I've played a little bit of is 20XX, which is a Mega Man roguelike, which is quite interesting. It has a similar thing there. It doesn't really have permanent stat increases so much that I've found so far. It's more of giving yourself abilities that you can kind of run with better.
So, what does the apple do for me? So this is something, while you were talking, sorry, I wanted to touch on this. I think this is kind of interesting. So we've got these traps on these floors, right? So this down arrow right here, I guess I can stop jumping. This down arrow right here, if I jump on it and I'm going to the beat of the song, it jumps me down directly to the next square, or in any direction that arrow is facing.
Yeah.
Right. And you would think that's no big deal. That would just mess you up if you're trying to line up an attack. But it actually messes you up a bit more because it jumps faster than the beat.
End of the song.
Oh, no. The other one increases tempo, which is kind of difficult as well.
Yes. I did notice that. I got one of those on my last play.
Oh. Is there a way to actually finish a dungeon without the timer in here?
I have no idea. That's very intimidating.
Yes, it is. But I got him.
Well done, sir. Well done.
I only was able to do it because I had the wide attack, so I could jump to one side of the guy, so I'm not in his direct line of attack.
Very, very nice.
Did I knock the head off of that zombie?
You did, I believe, yes.
Oh, I lost the Ring of Charisma. Oh, that's way down to the next level. Let's keep going on this one. What the heck does the Ring of Charisma do for me?
Well, I don't think you need a ring to be more charismatic, Scott.
Yeah.
So maybe it doesn't do much for you.
That flattery made me lose my beat.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just joking.
See, I'm actually like the traitor amongst. You know, I'm the one who's manipulating everything to like cause you to fail. Sorry,
right,
I was trying to make an allusion to Among Us, but I haven't actually played Among Us, so I don't even know what any of the lingo is.
I don't think you have to have played that game to know what's going on.
I feel like I played enough Mafia in my day that I understand the basic idea.
Right. All right, I'm gonna go down to the next level. What the heck?
Was that is that chapter? Okay, gotcha.
Wow. So each time you go
So
down, you get a
interesting.
boss fight.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, there's my
Oh,
first
hey, that's a
diamond.
gem.
Oh,
Yeah.
what is this? That's what that is. So that's the thing about this game. Like roguelikes, you have to. I think like Spelunky does this, where you try to figure something out first, and you like try and run up to something and you don't know what it is, and oh, it's catastrophic. You die.
It's catastrophic. Yes.
Right, and most of the times you can kind of like judge that ahead of time. It's like that looks like it's going to do spikes, but in this game, you have to keep moving. You can't stop moving. So it's like, oh, let's just go ahead and jump on it.
I really enjoyed that. That was fun. It was a spike trap, apparently. Speaking of spikes, that was really fun. Oh man, speaking of Spelunky is actually kind of a great corollary to talk about in terms of games like this, because Spelunky is basically the same exact kind of thing, just in terms of platformers instead of in terms of old school up, down, left, right dungeon crawlers. It's really doing the same thing. And frankly, like I played Spelunky at a friend's house for a little bit, and I was like, this is not good. I should never own this game, which incidentally I think I do now, but thanks, Humble Bundle. I got so drawn into it because it was exactly my jam. And here's a comparison point probably between these two as well, because in Spelunky, I find the procedural generation in Spelunky is really tight, like really good.
It is good, isn't it? Yeah.
And this one's a bit simpler. It's not standing out to me quite as much in terms of this is like stellar. Like extraordinary procedural generation, which it doesn't have to be. Like it has the goals in mind for what it needs to be, and it's doing them very well. You're not running into weird like glitchy rooms or anything. But I just remember procedural generation in Spelunky being so good, like really extraordinarily good. What's really interesting about games that do procedural generation. So a lot of roguelikes, obviously, they're all using procedural generation. I find that a lot of times people use procedural generation as an excuse to not do good level design.
Ah, yeah. That's a good point.
And so that's something you got to be really careful as a designer is if you make the decision to use procedural, one, you have to understand that it's going to have a lot of its own challenges. It's not just let's just do procedural generation and everything's going to work out fine. And also, there's a lot of ways to do it poorly. There's a lot of complexities, there's a lot of edge cases, and you can do lots of work to create a very robust procedural generation machine, but you can still end up with levels that don't make sense, like levels that don't feel good to play through. And that's, you know, and unless you've kind of gone through the ringer of what is good level design, what works in a good level, why does a good level work, how does progression through a level feel really good, unless you really understand the level design of, you know, of the kind of game space that you're working in, so this kind of roguelike, if you understand why a level works really well in this kind of a game, then you're not going to be able to create a convincing procedural generation if you don't understand how that works. And so perhaps it is worth putting in all of that extra time and effort to build a really solid level. Sorry. You had a good run. That was a good run. What was I gonna say? It's probably worth the time and effort it takes to get a really solid understanding of how to build a good level before you try to do anything procedural. Because if you don't understand what it is that you're wanting really thoroughly, really well, then you're not going to know if the procedure generation you're doing is actually going to produce that fun level design that you really want anyway.
Oh, right.
And you might give your players a better experience with a crafted level design than you would with a procedural design.
I think you're right, yeah.
And I think from time to time you run into games that have opted to do procedural when they really just would have benefited from solid level design.
It was more of a gimmick to the game than anything else.
Right.
And I agree. I think Spelunky does a good job at it.
Yeah, I think Spelunky is a really awesome at it. I think 20XX is not as tight on its level design. I remember running into a lot of situations where the difficulty varied drastically based on how the level just happens to be built. You could get some really impossible platforming scenarios on some run-throughs, and then on other run-throughs everything was super easy, depending. Maybe not always super easy, because that game's pretty hard overall, but that's a tough spot there.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get
go
the bomb,
for the bomb.
No matter what.
Yeah, go to the bomb.
And it ruined the trapdoors too.
Oh, it
blew up
did.
the trapdoors.
It very much did.
Oh well. Lesson learned. Which is very much roguelike.
Now, I think an interesting conversation to be had about procedural generation is actually the game No Man's Sky, which is a very long conversation to talk about No Man's Sky. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying that I bought No Man's Sky right at the very beginning, like launch day, and I enjoyed it on day one, which most people did not enjoy on day one. But I think it's because I had a good expectation for what it was actually going to be compared to the hype. But it is absolutely true to say that the procedural generation within that game was not phenomenal on day one.
No,
there was a lot of
true.
Issues with how it was doing that, and it has
Still
taken.
Not really good.
Well, I think it's gotten quite a bit better, like extraordinarily better. The game today.
I say that, and I do like the game.
When was the last time you played it? Out of curiosity.
Oh, it's been over a year, I think.
Yeah, so even in the last year, they came out with the Origins update. They have a lot of new things that they have added over, gosh, how long has it been now? I feel like it's been 5 years. Has it been that long?
Yeah, it's been a long time, yeah.
Jeez, yeah. But I feel like it's matured so much, but it has literally spent that long to try and get it to a point where, that procedural generation is really singing. And that was a super ambitious project to begin with, so it took a lot of work. So just the cautionary tale of don't assume that procedure generation is just gonna, fix all of your problems. It it is a tool in the game designer's tool chest to be used appropriately, but to be careful lest you find yourself in a bad spot. Lose
Ooh,
items,
that
gain
was nice.
health. That's really interesting.
Again, I ran up and grabbed it before I read it.
Yep.
But hey, you know what? I needed the health. It's fine.
Oh, hey, here we go. Oh, you're one away.
Okay, let's see if I can get something here. There's one area I haven't gone to. Looking at the map.
Yeah, I
Which
see
I
that.
love, by the way.
You can dig down. You can dig.
I can, yeah. There we go. There's
There's
my
a chest.
coin. Come on.
Back
Go
of your
back
sword. There you go.
Actually, let's see what's in the chest. Maybe it's in the chest. No. Do.
Something else I'm noticing about the level design here, which is kind of interesting. So there was during my master's program, one of the guys on the project was doing a study into lighting and how to utilize lighting to lead the player. Was really interesting, and just talking about if you create a maze, you can use lighting to subtly guide the player through the maze correctly. And when you used lighting versus when you didn't use lighting, you could actually like make your players do well or do poorly, kind of a thing. And I'm looking at how the lighting is done here, and there are these torches along the rooms here. Oh, bye bye.
Oof, jeez. Yeah, the lighting is really good because it also directs you or shows you where you can go, or not where you can go. That's not what I want to say.
Get the diamond! Get the diamond! It's driving me crazy. Just get it. Thank you.
I am enjoying how you can not see around the corners. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's good, and I think that the mini map works really well. I just love that guy who
See all
sings.
items.
I just absolutely love it.
Oh, I can get that. See all items. Is that see all items on my map?
Possibly.
Cheaper shops.
Oh, that's funny. Watch it! Don't step on the spikes.
I know.
There's a diamond. Nice.
Nice.
Interesting that they can hide the items in the wall too. That's fascinating.
If I only had that key. I am almost dead. And I am dead. Nice. What do you think?
What do I think of what?
Of the game.
Well, from
Ooh.
what I've gotten to see in the little bit about that I've been able to play it, I think it holds up pretty well. I like the overall feel. Like I think it's got a good thing going for it. I feel like it might take so just for the average player, if you're listening to this and considering playing this game, for the average player, I think it will take a while to get into the, for lack of a better word, rhythm of this game.
Nah.
But it's really interesting. I do think that there's a lot of good things going on here. The challenge is going to be learning the telegraphs. To your point, things move very quickly in this game. And
Yes.
so it's hard to be aware of how the telegraphs, which are there, like they're there. You can see, like from my perspective, watching you play, not playing myself, I can see, oh, there's the one guy he's going to attack you next, or there's the one guy who only moves in a straight line, or all of these various things. Like I can kind of see all the things that you're doing there. Oh, this is interesting. So you can start at different levels, different zones.
Yeah. It also, what's kind of cool.
Or that's a different
what's
mode.
the difference here? What's the difference? Yeah.
It's a different
So
mode.
what's-
I think that's what it is.
Oh yeah, I'll let you train. Oh, interesting. I wonder if that's bosses.
Oh no, this is great. This is great. So try zone 1 real quick. Just jump in there real fast. I think what this is doing is this is actually going to help you learn the telegraphs for the various enemies so you can learn how to combat them. That's really interesting. Okay, this is actually something that I really love. So I've talked about this with other games before. Yeah, this is really cool. So this is something I talk about, having training modes in the game, which are there for players to practice against. This is really good for things like action games where you have to do a certain combination of things. The Assassin's Creed games all have these where you can go and you can practice various modes, various attacks. You can combat various enemies in different games, that kind of a thing. It's really great, I think, because it works especially well for certain games where there's a progression and there's not always the opportunity to practice in game as much as in other games. So
especially this game.
Yeah, especially this game.
It was coming at you too fast.
Yeah. And so this is a good opportunity to give you this isolated context to just get to see how that one enemy by itself acts, and so that you can then learn how to compete against just that one enemy. So that when you encounter them in the chaos of the dungeon, you already have a sort of predetermined sense of, okay, this is how I can deal with this one. And then it's less information that you're trying to process when you're dealing with 5 at the same time. I think that's really great. And it is a risky thing to put into your game because you could put a lot of work into making all of this happen, and then no one ever uses it. So that's one danger to anything like this. It's the same kind of danger where you put in like collector items and you put in like journal entries and things. You've got people that are putting the time and effort into making that happen. And you might have a large percentage of your player base that just never does it. But the reason you do that kind of a thing is because, and in this particular case, you're giving your players the ability to practice and excel at your system that you've designed. And for things like collections and that kind of thing, that appeals to a certain kind of players, so you might get a few more players of your game than you might have otherwise had if you didn't include them. So there are reasons to include stuff like this, but you just have to weigh whether or not it's worth the extra cost of building them. So I think what the monkey does is the monkey doesn't hurt you, it just freezes you in place.
Yep.
Until you can get rid of it.
Yeah. And now this mechanic or this lobby allows me to recognize
really understand that, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, but if you get it before it jumps on you, then it's only a one hit and you don't have to deal with the... Okay. Clever.
Yep. And he moves one move per beat. That's good to know too, because some move only once, or some move one, some move every other beat. Like the zombie doesn't move every beat.
And so you can actually get them to come to you so you can destroy them. Yeah, okay, that's interesting.
I know, but in a normal roguelike, I would just sit here and wait. But I can't do that.
well, you can though. I mean, because it's always a risk thing. Is it worth it to you to save your multiplayer?
That's true.
Not always.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. Good point. How's
it going?
Another thing that's neat about this is how you unlock these guys. You have to purchase one of those keys, unlock the cages, to unlock this area.
Oh, so you're freeing
That's
them
cool.
in the game's levels.
Yeah.
That's how
And
you're getting access to them. Okay.
Each one of these appears to be that way. So like, find me in zone 1, find me in zone 1. So I have to get a key, unlock them.
There's a codex. Dungeon lore. This was just what I was talking about. Collectibles.
Yep.
Lore pieces. It's great. Master advanced techniques.
And this one, I think, so up here, this store, I purchase or use diamonds to unlock a lunge for double damage, right? This one.
So
or
it
what's
doesn't.
this one? I'll
Does
do
it
this
actually? Does it actually give it to you right away, or does it just make the
No.
item show up in the dungeon?
Makes it show up in probably the dungeon and also in that room below. So hold a second weapon. I like that. I have no idea how to
Okay,
switch, so I'm
okay.
going to buy that. So now it's unlocked, and every other item that I've unlocked has shown up in this room.
Interesting. Yeah. So I think
But
that must be
I
what it
think I
is. You're
have to-
unlocking weapons for the levels. That's what it is.
Yep.
That's an interesting way to do the progression, because then you are unlocking the potential for abilities. I think actually that's what 20XX does too.
Oh, cool.
Is you're unlocking the potential for an ability to show up rather than getting it access right away.
Right. And I can spend more diamonds if I want to have that buff at the beginning of a dungeon. Or
Right.
beginning of a zone. I
Right,
keep calling
right.
it
Yeah,
dungeon.
yeah. Well, there's I'm trying to remember what I was gonna say. Let's see.
I've been doing that the entire time playing this game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because you can do progression that's like you can acquire something that you can then use in the dungeon for that run. You can unlock long-term passive abilities. You can unlock, any number of things. Then there's also another one that some roguelikes have done where you get to keep one of whatever you collected. So let's say you had a certain number of armors, and then you can keep one for your next run through, so you don't always lose everything. So if you get that one really fancy weapon or that one really fancy piece of armor, then you can start the next level with that again. I've liked that one in the past before too. I think there was a game at GDEX a couple years ago. I'm forgetting what it was called that did that. It was that sort of like very geometric one with like the knights. I don't remember if you remember that one.
With the knights. Oh, I'm drawing a blank. I'm
does
sure
that one,
I know it.
Wait. Does that trap back there? Does that slow it down? Because it was the two
Oh, yeah.
arrows going in the opposite direction.
I tried to avoid those like crazy. So yeah,
I know, because it throws off the beat, but
tempo down.
okay.
And you would think it'd be easier, but
it's not, because it throws you off, right?
And as soon as it came back up, I missed a beat. Oh, ouch.
Interesting. Okay. Well, any other thoughts about Crypt of the NecroDancer?
I gotta say, the more I play it, the more I have fun with it.
Nice.
Ooh,
Dude,
I dropped.
The idea of there
like-
being... Oh, go ahead.
I don't like the special ability, the up and
The
down
combos. Yeah.
I'm
If
not
you,
liking
I
that.
bet if you took the time to set up the alternate so you could do it with two hands instead of just one, I think that probably would be better. Assuming that is
Yeah.
how that actually works.
True. I'm imagining they did this because one-hand play is an interesting thing to build, and I'm imagining they did that so you can just use one hand in order to do everything, right?
Right.
With some practice, it might work, but anyway, I think you were trying to wrap things up, and I kept.
Yeah. Just I was gonna say, like, the existence of Cadence of Hyrule. I would love getting to play this version of this game in Hyrule with Zelda characters. I think that is so cool that Nintendo allowed that to happen. Like, really, really neat.
It was smart.
Yeah, it was really neat, and I need to figure out how I can play it because I don't own a Switch, so I'm pretty sure it's Switch only.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I have a Wii U and it still plays all of the good stuff, so exit stairs unlocked. There you go.
Ooh, I like.
Yeah.
That.
So yeah, this has been Crypt of the NecroDancer, our second game that we took a look at this month for our rhythm theme. So I'll give a little bit of a prep that we have a special guest star scheduled for November to talk about a game that they were a large part of developing. So that's going to be really fun. It's a relatively big game, so you may recognize that I'll work on promotion and advertising ahead of time, so it's not like the Wednesday before, the Thursday before. I'll try to get a little bit more of a heads up and some prep for it. But I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun talking through it, getting to hear about the process of the design from one of the designers involved, and yeah, it's going to be really cool. I'm really looking forward to it. It's a cool opportunity. It is somebody from our COGG community, so it'll be really neat just to show off that game, show off the developer, and get to chat about it for a while. So it'll be fun. Yeah, let me hit this button here. There we go. Oh, wait, and there's Scott's eyeball. There's a sliver of Scott. Oh, there we go. We got you. Okay. Super cool. Yeah, so I had fun. I'm really glad that we played these games ahead of time because they were a doozy. I will say I finished Outer Wilds from last time. I want to have a conversation about it sometime, and I'm just going to leave it at that for now.
Yeah, so you got another 2 hours? Let's talk about that. No.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I know. Yeah. So anyway, I had a lot of fun. There's a really surprising variety of rhythm games out there. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff for VR, which is really fascinating. I think that's a really cool space to be working and experimenting with rhythm-based things, rhythm-based mechanics. So yeah, check those out. Check these games out. A lot of cool stuff going on in rhythm world, even beyond even your traditional, Dance Revolution, your Guitar Heroes, and that kind of a thing. So it's been really neat to see a new variety of game that honestly I wasn't really queued in on. So thanks for all of you sharing your recommendations. I know I feel like I need to give a shout out to Cody. There was a game that he missed the boat on making game recommendations for this round, which admittedly the window was very short. But I'm trying to remember what the name of it was.
Is that the one that Jared made? Is that one you're talking about?
Get-A-Roo. Get-A-Roo is the name of it.
What a name.
What a name. I'm going to have to look up what it is. I haven't had a chance to. But hey, maybe that one's another great rhythm game out there. He says it's the best, so... Anyway, yeah. Any closing thoughts, Scott?
No, I think you covered it all. Sounds good. I had a lot of fun too. This was, I normally don't like rhythm games, but I do love roguelikes. So this was, I know the game's been out for a long time and I don't know why I've never picked it up yet. So that was a lot of fun. That was very cool.
Yeah, super cool. All right. Well, that's all we have for this month's Let's Play. Join us next month for our guest star, and we will catch you all later. Cheers.
See you later. Stay safe. Go vote.
Yes, absolutely. Stay safe. Go vote, and always remember to be excellent to each other.
That's our closing from now on.
Always remember to be excellent to each other. All right. See you guys.
See you later, everybody. Bye.